Good morning. Welcome to the first of our how to make your own classes. Our first class is going to be a class around making wreaths. The second class will be table decorations, and the third, for those of you who are interested, will be around bowers. So today we're going to make a wreath. So what you will need for your wreath is a frame, and we have two different size frames. You'll need some wire. This is florist wire, and it comes in cut lengths or in a reel. You'll need foliage, and yesterday the dog and I went scavenging, foraging, so we've now got some really nice ivy. We've got some bits of Christmas tree. We've got cones. We've got some longer ivy, holly with berries, and some yew. Most importantly, to actually line your frame, we've got wool. And this is wool from the farm. We use it for a number of things. In the summer, we lined our hanging baskets with it. We use it for crafts, when we've cleaned it and washed and dyed it, and that's a separate course that we offer. We use it for the wreaths. We've used it in our nesting boxes for our chickens. And we use it for lining out vegetable patches and preserving plants through the winter. So what we're going to do now then is actually cover and line the frame. So what we need for that is the wool, and we're going to wrap the wool around the frame to give us a depth. We use wool because we do like sustainable materials, and actually using moss both damages the environment and is very expensive. The wool will do exactly the same job, because once you've completed your wreath, you won't actually see it. It's really nice to handle, even though it's a bit mucky, because it's full of lanolin. These come from our North Ronaldsay sheep, which we shear on the farm, and we keep all the fleeces. We do sell clean fleece. You can buy it from us through the website or through our Felting Pixie Facebook page. So we're wrapping this around the frame to give us some depth to attach the foliage to. And this principle applies with any of the wreaths we're making, irrespective of size or whether you use your own wire. And I will show you how to make something with wire in a later class. This wool's not been washed, so when you get it, just have bits and bobs in it, but the wreath won't mind, so hopefully you won't. And it's got lovely lanolin in it, so you'll have very soft hands. Be aware though, if you are allergic to lanolin, that it does have natural lanolin in it. So we've now covered our ring. This is the smaller of the rings, which will make a smaller door wreath. There is a larger ring, and you'll need to tell us which one you want to make when you place your order. So once you've got your ring, what we're going to do now is make sure it's secure by using wire. And there's two ways of doing that. The first is by using a reel of florist wire and simply wrapping it around the wreath to make sure that the wire stays on. Sorry, the wool stays on. We just simply take this all the way around the wreath, binding it. Doesn't have to be anything specific, it just needs to tidy it up and hold the wool in place, because that's your basis for your attaching all the foliage. If it moves around at this point, don't worry, because the wire will hold it. This wire is really flexible, so when you get to the end, just twirl it around in your fingers and it snaps off. And literally just take it back round a couple of turns and secure the end, making sure that you've pushed it into the wool so it doesn't snag your fingers later. So there's your first ring completed. If you're going to use the florist wire, then take 2 strands, fold them together in a V and just wrap them round each other, connecting them in the middle. And do that for several strands until you've got enough to take it around the width of your wreath. The wire's not sharp, shouldn't hurt your fingers. So again, you're going to take the wire through, leave an end up and just wrap it around your wreath. This is going to snag, it's got snaggy ends on it. But again, exactly the same principle. Just bring it through. So we're now going to look at the next stage. So I'm doing this on a small ring base, and I've got a sample of all of the things I want to use. So we've got fir, spruce, bit of Christmas tree, some ivy and some holly to start. And the aim with this is to take a piece of wire and to start to attach this onto your frame. So you're going to wrap the wire around the frame, and exactly the same principle as when you were joining the wire together. You're going to twist the wire to join it. Fold the sharp end in and take the long end and start to wrap that to hold your foliage in place. And again, tuck your end in. Now I've attached some pieces together to give me a longer run. And you need to look at, when you're selecting your bows, that they run the way you want them to. So this one bows that way, so I'm going to attach it onto the wreath this way. So again, through, bring the wire through, hide it under the foliage. You won't see it anyway because it's green. Tuck in your end, and then just start to wrap. Bring any branches out that are going out into your ring and just literally join them in. So it's giving you a coverage, not a tight coverage because you want this to look natural, a coverage over your wreath as a base. Overlap your ends so that you don't see the stalks at the end of the boughs you've cut. Just join the wire as you need to get you round the frame. We'll be doing this several times, so if you want to actually prepare your wire prior to starting, then you can do that. So this is our first layer, and as you can see, we're already losing the wool. And we're going to build on this, but the wool remains on the back, and we'll keep the foliage moist. So we're now doing the next layer, and I'm going to use this really pretty ivy. Just take off a couple of leaves from the bottom and make sure you've got a good base. And what I've started to do with this is just push it into the wool and into the wreath base, and then I'm just securing it by wrapping the wire around it. Again, you'll need a pair of secateurs for this, unless you've got floristry scissors, which I don't have. Move your leaves around so you've got some movement in your wreath. You don't want it all fastened down and stuck. And you can make your wreaths as big or as small as you want, suit your own needs really. Now again, I'm not tying this end off because I'm going to add another layer, but I'm going to look at it first to make sure that it's even. Now there's a bit of a gap there and a bit of a gap there, so I'm going to find a smaller piece of foliage and just attach it into the gaps, just to make sure that it's complete. So our next layer then, because we need to add some colour, unless of course you want a green wreath, is to add some holly. You might want to consider gloves for this because it is sharp, but again, completely up to you. So prepare your piece of holly, cut your end, and exactly as before, we're threading this into the wreath. To give it some depth. So this is the prickly bit. Lots of holly around this year, which is really good. People do tell me though that there's lots of holly because it's going to be a bad winter. Let's hope not. These wreaths can be used for two things. For the door, or you can just make a foliage leaf and use it for a grave. Principle's exactly the same, and the foliage is exactly the same. I will show you in a later video how to just make that wire base if you're going to do one for a grave, or if you can get hold of ivy, how to actually make a natural wreath for a grave that can then be thrown on a compost. So you can see now we've got our basic wreath shape. We've got colour, and it's reasonably balanced. And again, what I'm going to do now is take the end, wrap it round, and I'm going to secure this time, so I'm going to take it through the wreath. I've left a big enough loop to bring it through the wreath and bring it back into the loop that I'm holding with my fingers so that I can tie this off. So loop through the loop and just pull. And that gives you a secure edge that you can just take round the end and bring back into the foliage. So there's the beginning of our wreath. So this is the fun bit now. So we're now going to decorate our wreath. And again, you'll see I've been out and about. So these were foraged, these are, and have been dried and can then be sprayed with gold paint, with gold spray paint. Completely different, still got the boughs on it. Very green. These are all from local sourced, so again, that going into the wreath will make a big centre point. Or we can take pine cones and we're going to attach those by taking a piece of our wire, wrapping it round the cone in a circle, pulling it tight and then just twisting it off. So the pine is now fixed and we can put it where we want. So if we do 2 of these, we can then fasten them together and make a double. Because of the wire, they're flexible, and again, you can attach them to your wreath. This is a bag of dried fruit that I ordered off the internet. And you can take a piece of orange peel. You can do this at home, dry it at home. Take a piece of orange peel, a piece of apple, a small cone, and a small pine cone. Again, wrap this around the cone and tie it off. And then pull that through, and you've got a decoration that can go on the top of your wreath, or can go into the middle of your pine cones. So this is your wreath and you need to decorate it how you think. And again, this is a simple wrapping the wire around and bringing it through and securing it so that they hold in place. So with this wreath, I'm going to use a number of different sized gold cheap Christmas tree baubles. Thread them onto this piece of wire, ribbon again. these can be hung individually or collectively. Tie them on. And they can go into the middle of your wreath and be secured. Or you can put them at the base of your wreath. So other things you can use are poinsettias, really popular at Christmas. And again, this is a sprig of dry flowers, silk flowers, which I'm going to cut off. And again, just insert into your wreath and tie in. You might want to balance that up and have 2 poinsettias. And already you can see that your wreath is taking shape. Different size cone, again wired, can go at the top to balance it off. And again, just push this through and fasten it in to your wire base. So this bit is literally your choice now. So the last thing we need is a piece of ribbon. Your choice. This one's predominantly red, so I'm going to add a piece of red. Cut it to a length of about 14-18 inches and tie it together. This is just ribbon that you use for tying up Christmas presents, so there's no great expense in this. Tie a knot, and then what we're going to do is find the top middle of your frame. You're going to open the top out a little bit so you can re-access the wire frame, and you're going to thread this through the frame. You may have to just cut through the wool a little bit to get your ribbon through. Got a crochet hook, be really good to use at this point. I unfortunately don't have one with me, so I'm just going to make a hole and hope that I can get it through. So basically I just need this to come through here. So it's under the wire. And then we're just going to hook it through, and that's your wreath secured. So with this wreath, we've tied on to the base. We can add a bow. We can add pine cones. If you've got something like this, if you're going to stick with gold, you could add a butterfly. These are gold poinsettias. You could put in a poinsettia. This is basically your design. So we will on the website have a number of items that you can select. Just let us know which ones you want and we'll send them out to you. Thank you for watching. Happy wreath making. Goodbye.